So what do I think of the rest of the AEW talent pool? Well, let's find out. I'm John Redland with my real honest thoughts on the AEW roster Part 2. If you didn't see Part 1, I finished up talking about MJF, how I feel he's one of, if not the best heel in wrestling. And now I'm going to talk about the rest of the men's roster and then the women's roster and like a bit of a sidebar on the booking of the women's division. And then the commentators, the officials, the coaches, and I'm going to wrap that up right there. Also, if anybody gets signed by AEW in the next week and you are watching this in the future, I'm sorry, I do not possess the clairvoyance to see things in the future. So, let's talk about the Young Bucks. I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks. I never have been, I never really will be. But that being said, two of my favorite tag matches of the last 10 years were against the Golden Lovers at Strong Style Evolved 2018, and then that match against Page and Omega at Revolution, one of my top 3 matches of the year. It was fucking great. Great psychology, great wrestling. It was great. It was a great ride. It was fucking fantastic because they crafted a really goddamn good match. And it's my favorite tag team match of the year, period. I don't see anything else beating it, even though WWE's put on some good stuff, well, to an extent. New Japan actually has put on a couple decent, to really, really good tag matches, but nothing is going to beat what the Bucks, Omega, and Page did at Revolution. I'm also not a fan of the video game flippy shit stuff, and the stuff they did with Lucha Bros, while spectacular as far as gymnastics, was not my favorite. And the video game wrestling, and a lot of the shit they do isn't necessarily for me. But they have a large fan base, and I can appreciate that. And when they actually put on a great match with great psychology, I'm going to say it. I'm going to at least swallow my pride and put my biases aside and talk about the fact that, the Bucks can put on a good match when they want to. Even if I'm not a big fan of them, it'd be hard to ignore that. Are they the best tag team in wrestling? Not in my opinion, but other people can think that. Now we go to Michael Nakazawa. I hate the oil shit. I wish he was not on AEW programming. I don't wish him not be able to earn a living, but I don't understand why AEW signed him. I believe he's Kenny Omega's friend, which makes sense. Michael Nakazawa should not be on a mainstream wrestling program in America because it's not a funny gimmick. He's not very good, and I don't find it entertaining. Other people do. Fine. I don't like him. We get to Orange Cassidy. I talked about him when I, told everybody about my best friends. Promised to never sing again, at least until next week. I'm not a fan of the Orange Cassidy gimmick, but other people are. I don't think his matches are absolutely horrible. They're just not for me. The character isn't for me. But he has a large fan base. And that it's hard to ignore that. The gimmick will never be for me. It's never going to be. But you know what? If fans like him, that's great. Doesn't have to be for everybody. And then we get to Pac, the former Neville. And he's currently stuck overseas because, of where he lives and he can't travel. And that's a shame because I fucking love Pac. He's great. He's absolutely great. He was great when he finally came back as a heel as Neville in WWE, then sat out his contract, the rest of it. And then, got to AEW, and he was just fucking destroying people, doing some great shit. And the match that he had against Omega, that 30-minute Iron Man match, was pretty goddamn good. And Pac is really, really fucking good. And I hope once the travel restrictions get lifted, he can come back. He can just explode on Dynamite, gross, and he can have some great shit. But I'm a big, big fan of Pac. When he can get featured again, he is just going to fucking blow everybody away. And I know he's got to be raring to go again. But yeah, Pac, really, really good. Now, the Lucha Bros. Unfortunately, my Lucha Bros shirt is in the wash, but I got that when I visited or went to a Defy Northwest wrestling show and got to meet Pentagon Jr. And I'm still going to call him Penta, even though I know, or Pentagon Jr., even though I know that it's a different name, but still. Really, really nice, got the shirt, and him and Phoenix are a great tag team. Now, the Lucha stuff isn't necessarily for me. I can appreciate good Lucha, and they do good Lucha. Phoenix is probably going to not be walking in 10 years if he keeps doing the dives that he does, but he's fucking incredible in the ring. And Penta is also very good. They're a great team. I wish that they maybe were the first AEW Tag Team Champions, all due respect to SCU. They will be eventually, but the Lucha Bros are a very good team, and I'm a big fan of them. Then we get to Peter Avalon. Now, I talked about him when I talked about Cutler. I don't really care for the Librarian thing, but he's not a bad performer. And then Preston Vance of the Dark Order. I've said again, don't really care for the Dark Order. But you know what? The talent isn't bad. I just don't care for the gimmick. But you know what? If they take that gimmick off it, they eventually disband the Dark Order down the road, which, whenever that happens, which hopefully does happen before it turns into the NWO and gets too stagnant and they realize, oh shit, we should have ended it sooner. Maybe we can see what these guys can do. I'm not saying they're bad in the ring, but I just don't care. So I don't really have anything bad to say about this guy beyond the gimmick that he's associated with. Ricky Starks. I love Ricky Starks. Got to meet him at a couple indie shows. But he's fantastic. He was great in the NWA. He's a young guy that they can build around for years. He is somebody that is really, really fucking good. And I'm serious. He is fucking good. He is really, really great on the mic. He's great in the ring. He just is a great cocky heel. But it's also very likable. I mean, you want to slap him, but at the same time, you also want to, you just want to just shake his hand and say, God, thank you for being such a great wrestler. I mean, he really is. He's a great wrestler. We then get to Sammy Guevara. Bullshit comment about Sasha aside. And in your early 20s, those kind of things aren't cool to say. That being said, Sammy Guevara is a really good heel. Met him in an indie show last year, and before he signed with AEW. Sammy Guevara, he's really nice. He is really nice. And he's also really good in the ring. And Sammy Guevara is a great slappable heel. He's just got that cockiness about him. And as long as he learned and got past from that, I can respect him as a person. Earn that respect. And also his role in the inner circle is really... Him and Jericho are a really good team. If they decided to make them as a team where Sammy did most of the work, and Jericho was a veteran that helped carry him along, that might actually be the better role for Jericho, because Jericho ain't got much of anything left, if anything, left in the ring. But Sammy Guevara's got a lot of years left in wrestling. Shawn Spears. He's Cody's friend. He's got the leather glove and the loaded leather glove, and he likes to fist guys in the face. I actually think Shawn Spears isn't that bad in the ring, but he's very much just a mid-card guy. I mean, it's good that he's getting featured, but I haven't really cared for Shawn Spears for a while. I don't hate the guy. I don't hate the guy at all. I just think after that Cody feud, they've been trying to build him, and then they tried to give him a tag partner for a while. That didn't work. They gave him the loaded glove thing. I don't know. It's not really working for me. But if he's happy and they're happy with him, that's great. Sonny Kiss. I like Sonny Kiss. I wasn't sure how to take the gimmick at first, which I realized was just, him pumping up, his dance background and all that stuff and everything. But I was like, okay, let's look at the gimmick. Let's look at the look, the presentation, but let's see how he is in the ring. And he's a really good performer. He's a really good, athlete. I hope he gets a little more seasoning, a little more TV time and everything. It's a tremendous 450, and that split leg drop off the ropes. One has got to hurt him, but two, does look very impressive. Sonny is very good. The Matrix move that he does, he's really good in the ring, so hopefully he gets featured a little bit more besides on Dark. And also he's carrying that team of him and Janela. And boy, Sonny Kiss is going to have, back problems from carrying that sack of shit that is Joey Janela. So now we get to Wardlow. Mr. Mayhem. Wardlow has a terrible theme, but honestly, as green as he is, Wardlow is pretty goddamn good in the ring. As a big guy. Feature him in short bursts and bring him along and everything, and he'll get even better. I hope he comes up with a different finisher, since they're kind of experimenting with some stuff, but he's got a presence. I mean, it's hard not to look at the guy and be impressed. And that cage match he had against Cody was really good. Now, it was Wardlow's first match, and yeah, sure, he took a loss, and Cody also doing that goddamn moonsault, goddamn insane. Boy, that was impressive. Wardlow is a project that keep him and MJF together at least until the end of the year. You want to split them up around the February pay-per-view next year. Good idea. But don't split them up yet, like they've been teasing. Now let's talk about the women's division. Okay, I'm just going to say right at the top of this, because they have not booked the women's division well at all. They didn't book the right woman to win the championship, be the inaugural champion, and they botched it ever since. And it's not due to a lack of talent. That's due to a lack of direction. They did not sign some of the people that they should have signed. And they got a bunch of women that are in Japan that either have gone back to Japan or cannot get over here. They got a lot of people that, cannot travel. They recently released Bea Priestley and Sadie Gibbs. Sadie Gibbs I was disappointed by because I think that she had the most upside. Vert B is a bit difficult to work with. Given who she's dating, I'm not really that shocked by it. As good as Ospreay is in the ring, fucking hell, somebody is having some real problems trying to be an adult and be a decent human being, if the rumors are to be believed. Be believed, that is. So, I want to say right now, though, I like the fact that AEW has a women's division, but it has been not featured all that well. It's been basically Brandi Rhodes' vanity project. So let's talk about Brandi Rhodes. Let's just talk about her right off the bat. Brandi Rhodes should never sniff a goddamn ring. I'm not saying that she shouldn't work for the company. She's going to work for the company because she is Cody's wife. And this would be the same if the roles were reversed and Brandi was the incredible worker and Cody was riding her coattails. Brandi would not have that job if she wasn't married to Cody. Same as Triple H would not have the position that he has in NXT if he wasn't married to Stephanie. I'm standing by that, and it's not usually about what you know, it's about who you know in some cases. Brandi Rhodes is a terrible fucking wrestler. I'm sorry, she is. She's a fucking terrible wrestler. I give her credit for coming back from that collarbone injury, and I'm not saying she's a bad person. She probably needs a little bit more work as far as social media, as far as, how she interacts with people. She doesn't deserve the racism, the sexism, and stuff like that. She doesn't fucking deserve that at all. But guess what? She isn't any fucking good in the ring. She was fucking terrible in that tournament. She's been fucking terrible no matter what match she's been in. Stop featuring her in the ring. Seriously, it's as bad as watching, Stephanie McMahon try to wrestle. It's almost as bad as watching Sable try to wrestle. I mean, at least Sable got ratings. Brandi isn't the most damaging woman to professional wrestling as far as, women. But she's not. If she has any input on how the women's division is booked, whoever does. I don't know who actually does. Whoever is booking the women's division is not doing well. And if Brandi has any input, she needs to have no input because she is not helping at all. She is a detriment to women's wrestling in AEW and in general. Now let's talk about, the actual women that have a purpose in the ring. Hikaru Shida, the current AEW Women's Champion. I'm looking forward to her versus Thunder Rosa at All Out. In fact, that's the match I'm most looking forward to. Because I've seen Thunder Rosa live, and I think that Hikaru Shida is a fucking tremendous talent, and those two women are going to fucking tear it up. Shida is incredible. She is great to watch in the ring. She is vastly improved. She should have been the second AEW Women's Champion, in my personal opinion. She should have beaten Nyla Rose, who should have been the first Women's Champion. But Shida is very good. One, they don't even need to give her subtitles. Have you heard her English? Especially she does YouTube videos, but also she's done promos. She's really worked on her English. If you follow her on social media, she can be a bridge between Japanese and American women's wrestling. She is very good. She's improved. She's gotten better in the ring. They need to tighten up these matches a little bit and maybe make it where, they don't drag on as much, or you give the ones more time that you need to, but also you don't drag some on just to give the women time. You need to find a common balance here. Because some of Shida's matches, it feels like they should have ended about 3 moves ago, and that's not her fault. And then some of them, it's like, okay, and she beats somebody within 30 seconds. There's a balance they need to find. Shida is the top performer, though, at least on the babyface side. Avalon. I like Avalon's gimmick, and she's very young and has a chance to really grow into being a good performer. I like it, girl from the ring, it kind of reminds me a bit of Rosemary and Time, but also, honestly, just is a really, really fun character. I'm not necessarily scared. There are people that are scared by her. I've watched too many horror movies. I own too many horror movies to really be scared by that, but good on her. She is very, very good, even at this early age, and she's only going to get better. Allie. Allie ain't great in the ring. She's not terrible in the ring. She's not great in the ring. But I don't know. They don't know what the fuck to do with her. They brought her in as a face first, and they made her the evil bunny. Then they aligned her with Brandi, and nobody asked for this because nobody wanted to see Brandi in a ring. And Allie now seems directionless. I don't know what the fuck they're doing here, but Allie's not bad. She's not great. I'm not like a big fan of her, but I don't hate her. And then we get to Anna Jay. Anna Jay is a bright star of the show, if you will, because that's her gimmick. Anna Jay should not be aligned with the Dark Order, in my personal opinion. As I've said before, don't care for the gimmick. If it leads to her actually becoming better, okay, great, but I don't think she's going to be seen as much of anything more than just the woman in the Dark Order until they branch her away and she actually does something else. But I think Anna Jay is very, very good, even in the early stages of her career. And hopefully she can get even better with more matches and more years under her belt. I actually think she can be a bright star. Awesome Kong, she was filming Glow. She has not been featured all that much. I don't even know why she was still listed as of, looking at the list. And nothing against Awesome Kong, but it's like she's basically out of wrestling because she's injured a lot and also filming Glow and probably doing better there than she would be doing in the ring. And they weren't doing all that much with her outside of her debut at Double or Nothing, which actually was pretty damn good. Big Swole. I'm not a fan of the name, mainly because I don't get it. But will I give her credit for being in shape and being a pretty damn good performer and having some pretty good strikes? Oh, yeah. She could be a star. Gonna take some time. But, hey, she's certainly not that bad. And Brandi already talked about her. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. You know she's a dentist? I know. If they only would mention it more than about 1 million times. But then again, they're leaning into it. Britt, I didn't think was working that well as a face. Then she unfortunately got injured. Got a concussion during one of the earlier shows, I think, Fight for the Fallen. And that's not her fault. Accidents happen. But once they turned her heel, it actually worked. And now she's just doing the lockjaw stuff. She's doing all this really good stuff. And now she's coming back from injury. I think Britt is going to be a star. Now, is she great in the ring? No. But she's much better on promos, and she can carry that. And as long as she's decent in the ring, we can get, a lot of good, we can create a star here. Or by we, I mean, AEW. They can create a star. We can see her develop as a star, we as fans. It would be really, really good to see that. I don't mind Britt. I think she's pretty good. She's grown into the heel role more than I thought she would. Emmy Sakura, her and Riho had a match, I believe, what was it, Full Gear last year. It was fine. Emmy Sakura's not bad. I need to see some earlier Emmy Sakura matches, I guess, to really understand how big she is, because apparently she's a big name in Japan. Or at least a decent, size name in Japan. But I don't hate her. Chris Statlander, currently injured. I do miss seeing Chris Statlander, mainly because she's statuesque. Even if I don't care for the gimmick, I don't care for the booping thing, the snoot boop stuff. But Chris Statlander is a very good worker. Does need to take it a little bit easy on how she treats some talents, though, because some people have gotten inadvertently injured by her, so she needs to polish up that stuff. But Chris is a very good wrestler, and I think can get better. And hopefully after this injury heals, she can come back and brighten up the women's division. I don't get the alien thing, but other people like it. I don't. Leva Bates. She's fine as a manager. I mean, she's an attractive woman. She has a decent presence as a manager. As a wrestler, I don't really care for her. I don't think she's the worst thing in the world, but I just don't care for her. Mel. I think Mel should be featured more. She was featured on a recent episode of AEW Dark, beating Red Velvet. That was pretty damn good stuff. Mel's another tall woman that the statuesque could be featured, and pretty, strong. Has a good striking look. Could definitely boost the women's division. And then we get Nyla Rose. I like Nyla Rose. She should have been the first champion. I don't know why Riho beat her. Nyla would have been the perfect, first champion. Would have just stuck right in the face of anybody that wanted to be a freaking bigot about it. You can feel however you want. It's your business. It's free country. You're human beings. You can feel however the hell you want. But I'm going to stand by this. I will not tolerate transphobia on my timeline. I will not tolerate it. You can make jokes all you want. I ain't tolerating that shit. It's 2020. Let's grow up. As long as we're consenting adults, let's just make sure people can be who they want to be. So, Nyla Rose should have been the first champion. I'm a fan of her, and I hope that she wins the championship back eventually and has a longer reign, because 3 months wasn't quite enough, in my opinion. Penelope Ford has improved. I like Penelope Ford, and I would like to see what her career will look like in a couple years. Riho should have never been a champion. Riho's good in the ring. Just wasn't believable as a champion, at least in an American promotion. She's talented, but not championship material on a big stage like this. But Omega was a fan of her. It's like, okay, let's just do this. It is what it is. But when she became champion, I instantly got bored of her. Not that she was bad in the ring. And then we get Shayna. I like her, and I hope once the travel restrictions lift, she can be featured a little bit more, because she is quite good as well. And then we get Yuka Sakazaki. Now, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, because Riho, if she had not been champion, I didn't mind her at all. She was a good performer. Yuka Sakazaki, the genie girl, I just find incredibly entertaining and incredibly charismatic, because she's ridiculous. The theme is ridiculous. It's stupid, but it's also funny. I think that Yuka Sakazaki being featured in preliminaries and doing, like the 6-woman tag, that kind of stuff, and being featured to do her stuff, she has the energy to pull that off. Should she be the main champion in AEW? No. But I find her entertaining. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not saying she's great, but I just find her character entertaining. Now I'm going to talk about a few women that they should sign. Kylan King, Skylar Moore, Red Velvet, I think they should sign, and a few others. Danny Jordan's another one they should sign. They should sign more women, because there are some of these women that aren't going to, may not be able to come back for a while due to travel restrictions, and some of these women aren't even really wrestlers, they're just kind of managers. They really should sign some more. Let me know some women that you want them to sign in the comments. So let's talk about the coaches. Billy Gunn, part-time wrestler and coach. cool. I mean, he's got a wealth of experience as far as, the years he's been in wrestling. Jerry Lynn, I mean, come on. Jerry Lynn, one of the most undervalued talents, or at least underappreciated talents of his time. Goddamn great feud and series of matches with RVD, and really, really underappreciated in many companies he was in. Underappreciated by some, but, appreciated by, a lot of fans. It's kind of weird, though, because his work was really good. Look at his work. It's fucking incredible. Vicky Guerrero, I'm not really sure what she can teach. Maybe how to be annoying on promos. I'm not really a fan of Vicky Guerrero, especially after certain tweets she sent out. Idiot. Arn Anderson. Respect Arn Anderson, especially with all the shit that he, has been through, but especially all the, wealth of knowledge he can bring. And then also Tully Blanchard. I mean, come on. How can you not appreciate Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard being on your roster? Now let's talk about the officials. Aubrey Edwards is my favorite referee besides Red Shoes. Actually, her and Red Shoes are 1 and 1A. I love Aubrey. Some people don't. Some people are like, she shouldn't try to be a character, but see, she's a good character because she adds to the match. I don't think she takes away, at least in my opinion. Also, by the way, in case anybody was wondering, yes, my shirt, I did forget to mention, they should sign Priscilla Kelly. Because I think Priscilla Kelly could be a good asset to the AEW roster. Yes, I know her and Darby are no longer together, but they seem cordial with each other, and I think Priscilla would be a good addition to the women's roster. I'd like to see them sign Thunder Rosa, but I believe she's still tied to the NWA. And she's doing her own wrestling project right now. Aubrey Edwards, I absolutely love. Met her at multiple indie shows. Great talent. Down-to-earth person. Very, very talented, and a very good referee. At one point, she was doing refereeing a match with the Lucha Bros. That was May of 2019, and Phoenix, to break up a pin, kicked Aubrey. Now, it was a safe kick. Let me tell you right now, you want to see 500 fans ready to fucking riot? That was about it. Like, don't you hurt our Aubrey. I mean, because she's from the area. We consider her one of our own. And it was like, don't you hurt our Aubrey. Don't you hurt her at all. I love Aubrey. I think she's great. I know some people may not like her, but I do. Bryce Rensburg, he's not bad. I mean, he's actually a decent referee for what he is. Earl Hebner, I mean, come on. Earl Hebner, Aubrey, Girl Hebner, pretty good shit. Paul Turner, longtime referee from Ring of Honor, I believe, and various other promotions. Rick Knox, is he the one that looks like a corpse? That sounds mean, but he's the one that literally looks like he was drained of blood. And then he forgot to say when. So then, those are the referees. I'm sorry if they have other referees signed, but I can't think of who. Now we get to the commentators. Alex Abrahantis. Is he the one that hosts the pre-shows on YouTube? Because I've only seen a little bit of him. I mean, I don't have anything against him, but I just know he's there. Alex Marvez. He's fine as a backstage interviewer, but he just has no presence. He just has nothing. It's one thing for me, just as a fan, to shoot a YouTube video here on my phone. He's on a national broadcast, on TNT. He's featured on YouTube. He's going all over the world. And he's just not very charismatic. He seems nice, and he's a very good sports writer, but he just should not be featured on TV. And then we get Dasha Gonzalez. No, she was recently featured in the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament, so at least that was actually something good. She got a chance to wrestle. She's a good announcer. She announces Hikaru Shida's name like she's a Pokemon. I don't know why, and I don't know why that sticks out to me. But Dasha is a good interviewer, and she's also a good ring announcer. And if they want to have her wrestle part-time, I would be all for that. She did fine in that match. Excalibur. I don't know if they're keeping him off TV currently due to, the recent resurfaced stuff that happened in, PWG about him saying some very unfortunate words about, African Americans in a worked promo, in a worked, angle. It wasn't okay then, but he'd addressed it in previous, podcasts, I believe, and Owens had addressed it. If Excalibur is just sitting at home because he doesn't want to be a distraction to the company, I can respect that. He didn't want to travel suddenly. I can respect that, rather. I like Excalibur as a commentator. I wish he'd take off the mask. I just don't see the point in the commentator wearing a mask. That's my opinion. But Excalibur is a good commentator. Jen Sturger, she's the backstage interviewer, does the ranking stuff. She's there. JR. When JR gives a shit, he's really good. When it's the women's division or a lot of the other stuff, he doesn't give a shit. JR has been phoning it in for a while. It's kind of annoying to me because all he's doing is damaging his legacy, that is. But he is older, has health issues, and has been through a lot. I can understand that. But sometimes you need to know when to hang it up. They're paying him a fortune, and they're getting maybe 25% of what JR was at his worst. Except for stuff like Cody and Dustin. He was really good there, and he's done good in some matches. But the women's division and other stuff, he doesn't care. Justin Roberts. I'm kind of annoyed with Justin Roberts as a commentator or as a ring announcer. I'm sorry. Sometimes being overly exuberant is okay, but also he's got some allegations surrounding him that doesn't sit right with me. Taz is fine, except when he's trying to heel it up too much on commentary, it gets distracting. And Tony Schiavone. I have so much more respect for Tony Schiavone now. I've been watching WCW 2000 and retro reviewing that. Check that out if you'd like. And I have so much more respect for Schiavone sitting through some of the worst wrestling and dealing with Mark Madden and people like that. Working with Scott Hudson must have been great because him and Schiavone and Scott Hudson were a great team, a great duo. But Schiavone now, I think he's just really having a good time. You can tell he's just yucking it up and enjoying it. And he respects the talents and he appreciates good wrestling. But I think he's just there to just have a good time because I don't think he really cares about half the stuff that's going on. Or if he does, he's just having fun. But I like Schiavone. Schiavone's really won me over as a commentator. But let me know what you guys think in the comments with Part 1 and Part 2. Let me know what you think of the AEW roster. Who do you think they need to sign? Let me know. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.